Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Now, the United States Vice President J.D. Vance has waded in on a story that he's basically made comment on this before. He's doubling down on it now. And he's saying that there could well be some kind of fundamental difference. Not quite a war of words, but, difficulties between the United States and Europe over values, over control of borders, over censorship and free speech, and so forth. And he's warned that Europe is now risking what he is calling civilizational suicide if it continues undermining its fundamental Western liberties and keeps engaging in the madness of open border, mad migration policies. There was an interview published this morning. It was actually yesterday evening US time, but it was this morning here, with a woman called Laura Ingraham from Fox News. And Vance, like I say, doubled down on the critique of this global agenda that dominates, the madness that dominates the mindset of European leaders. They seem to think that what they're doing is virtuous, whereas in fact it's ultimately dangerous. He says it'll be the downfall of the cradle of Western civilization. He says, and his words are, that the entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements. But I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. Now, what he means is this supposed tolerance towards the alien, the other, the outsider, will weaken and diminish the culture, history, and the bonds of Western civilization. Our history is being subsumed by an alien culture, and our leaders are not only allowing it to happen, but they are forcing it in by the censorship of people who want to rile at it and complain about it. And they're closing down complaints. How dare you stand up for your history? How dare you stand up for your heritage? How dare you stand up for your national identity, you racist, because you want to remain British or French or German? No, you must adopt the ways and the culture and the laws of foreigners. And he's saying that will destroy the West. And do you know what? I think I'm tending to agree with him. Vance was he highlighted the open borders agenda that's come to dominate much of Europe over the past decade or so, and the increasingly authoritarian speech restrictions imposed by supposedly liberal governments in the EU and the UK, as I know personally, and many others do. Now, in America, you're protected. You have the First Amendment. You can say what you like, and that's an end to it. There is no restriction. Government cannot send the police to your door because you've said something that they don't like. Unfortunately, this country is not protected by the First Amendment. This, of course, by one of the reasons I'm going to be opening an American company in New Mexico and put ownership of the channel there, so that it is an American company that's publishing these things and therefore is protected by the First Amendment. I would recommend a lot of people try and do this. Screw them. But censorship means that when you speak out against what the government are doing to you, you will be, under their glare, as it were. They can do what they like. You're not allowed to complain. You must put up with it. Unfortunately, with the 20% that voted for our Labour government, it means that we've got this disproportionately unelected government. Even though it's in power, it doesn't have authority, and yet it's assuming that authority. But he says that, of these governments in Europe, he says they are unable or unwilling, too many countries of them, to control their borders. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got US Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. Indeed, the world is turning to the right. It's only this country that madly has a left-wing government. The Vice President said that the problems facing Europe also have an impact on the United States, noting that illegal immigrants who enter Europe without proper vetting can use it as a springboard to America. And Vance has also previously highlighted recently enacted censorship laws in Britain and the European Union that allow regulators to impose billions in fines against American social media companies. He says, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty. And America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another 5 million immigrants come from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself. And I hope they don't do that, because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive. And you can take the word Germany out of that sentence and put in any other European country. Now, the Vice President's comments echo what a lot of people think, and it's a belief that we, the people, seem to be the problem for our own governments, and that's why they want to replace us with those coming from elsewhere, the faraway people, the matelots, the little French boat people. Now, Vance told Europeans that those coming here want to destroy liberties, he says, and unfortunately they don't need to, because our own governments are doing it for them. J.D. Vance has a wise head on his shoulders, doesn't he? Now, of course, now that Trump's in the White House, all things are changing in America. He has basically closed down immigration. He's announced those 43 countries that are now persona non grata for coming into the United States. He's explained why. It's because, in his words, they're dangerous. And he can do that because he's a patriot who cares for his country. It's a shame that in this country we don't have one of them. But I tell you what, I wouldn't mind having J.D. Vance running this country for a few weeks. Things would change, wouldn't they? And I think certainly we need a written constitution with an absolute free speech law. Without it, the people of this country will be too scared to say anything. We see already the banter police in pubs. You say a joke, somebody gets offended, you go to jail. Is that the Britain that we've known and grown up in? I don't think so. And yet here we are. 1984, a little bit late, we finally got there. Big Brother is listening to you, because everybody's an agent for Big Brother. They've put us all against each other. Well done. All you Labour voters, you're all wankers. Thanks very much. Speak soon. Bye.